Welcome to the world of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening. The ship's hatch hissed open, releasing a cloud of pressurized air into the alien atmosphere. I stepped out onto the ramp, my boots clanking against the metal. The first thing that hit me was the smell, rich and earthy, like petrichor, but with an underlying tang of something I couldn't place. Epsilon Prime sprawled before me, a world of swirling purples and blues. Twin moons hung low on the horizon, pale ghosts in the alien sky. The landscape was a maze of twisted rock formations and bioluminescent vegetation that pulsed with an otherworldly rhythm. A small delegation waited at the base of the ramp. My eyes were drawn immediately to their leader, tall and lithe, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the strange light. Her eyes were the most striking feature, large, luminous, and filled with an intelligence that made me catch my breath. "Welcome, Envoy Kronos," she said, her voice melodious yet firm. "I am Lily, Elder of the Xenomorph Council. We've been expecting you." I inclined my head respectfully. "Thank you for your hospitality, Elder Lily. I'm honored to be here as a representative of Earth." Lily's gaze was piercing, as if she could see right through my diplomatic facade. "Come," she said, gesturing towards a crystalline structure in the distance. "We have much to discuss, and little time." As we walked, Lily explained the situation. The xenomorphs were aware of Earth's approaching warship, and while they desired peace, generations of isolation had bred deep mistrust of outsiders. "Your people's show of force has complicated matters," Lily said, her tone carefully neutral. I winced internally. "I assure you the ship's presence is merely a precaution. Earth has no desire for conflict." Lily's expression remained impassive. "Perhaps, but intentions and actions do not always align, do they, Envoy?" Before I could respond, we reached the crystal structure. Inside, a group of xenomorphs waited, their faces a mix of curiosity and wariness. One figure stood apart from the rest, her features softer, younger. When our eyes met, I felt a jolt of something. Recognition? Connection? I couldn't say. Lily noticed my gaze. "This is my daughter, Nova. She will be your guide during your stay." Nova stepped forward, a slight smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "It's an honor, Envoy Kronos. I look forward to learning about your world." "The honor is mine," I replied, surprised by the warmth in my voice. "And please call me Zane." A low growl interrupted the moment. A burly xenomorph pushed his way to the front of the group, eyes narrowed in open hostility. "Enough pleasantries," he snarled. "Why should we trust the words of an outsider? How do we know this isn't just a ploy to lower our defenses?" Lily's voice cracked like a whip. "Helios, you forget yourself." But Helios wasn't backing down. He stalked towards me, looming. "I say we throw him back on his ship and prepare for war. It's inevitable anyway." I stood my ground, meeting his glare. "With respect, Helios, was it? War is never inevitable. I'm here to ensure it doesn't come to that." Helios sneered. "Pretty words from a pretty mouth, but words won't stop plasma cannons, will they?" "Enough!" Lily's voice resonated through the chamber. "Helios, you will remember your place. Zane is our guest, and he will be treated as such." Helios backed away, but the hatred in his eyes told me this wasn't over. Lily turned to me, her expression grave. "I apologize for Helios's behavior, but you must understand, his fears are not entirely unfounded. We have protocols for situations like this, traditions that have kept us safe for millennia." I nodded, relieved to be back on diplomatic ground. "Of course, I'd be happy to learn about your customs and traditions." Lily's eyes took on an odd gleam. "I'm glad to hear that, Envoy, because our most sacred tradition for dealing with outsiders is quite intimate." My diplomatic mask slipped for a moment. "I'm sorry?" "To prove your honesty and pure intentions," Lily continued, "you must spend a night with each unmarried female of our tribe." The room spun. I blinked, certain I had misheard. "I... what?" Nova stepped forward, her cheeks flushed a deeper blue. "It's an ancient custom," she explained softly. "A way to ensure that visitors have no hidden agendas or ill intentions." I struggled to maintain my composure. This wasn't covered in any of my briefings. "I see. And if I were to decline?" Helios's laugh was harsh. "Then you prove yourself a liar and a coward. The negotiations end before they begin." I looked at Lily, hoping for some sign that this was all an elaborate joke. Her expression was deadly serious. "You have 72 hours to complete your mission, Envoy Kronos," she said. "How you choose to proceed is up to you. But know that our traditions are not flexible. Adhere to them, or your ship will return empty-handed, if it returns at all." My mind raced. This wasn't just an ethical dilemma. It was a potential diplomatic catastrophe. But refusing outright could doom the entire mission before it even began. I took a deep breath, buying time. "I appreciate you sharing this custom with me. It's certainly not something we practice on Earth. May I have some time to consider the implications?" Lily nodded. "Of course. Nova will show you to your quarters. You have until nightfall to make your decision." As Nova led me from the chamber, I could feel Helios's eyes boring into my back. Whatever I decided, I had a feeling things were about to get very complicated. The corridors of the xenomorph complex were a maze of twisting crystal, each turn revealing new wonders. Bioluminescent creatures skittered along the walls, leaving trails of soft light in their wake. The air hummed with an energy I couldn't quite place, making the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Nova walked slightly ahead, her movements graceful and fluid. I found my eyes drawn to her, questions burning on my tongue. "So," I ventured, "have you always lived here in the capital?" She glanced back, a small smile playing at her lips. "Capital? Is that what you'd call this place?" I faltered. "I assumed. Given the size and the presence of the council." Nova's laugh was like chimes in the wind. "We don't have capitals the way you do on Earth. This is simply where we are now. Our people move with the seasons, following the energy flows of the planet." "Fascinating," I murmured, genuinely intrigued. "How do you track these energy flows?" Nova's eyes lit up. "It's a combination of science and intuition. We have devices that can measure the subtle quantum fluctuations in the planet's core, but it also takes years of training to interpret the data correctly." I found myself leaning in, eager to learn more. "That's incredible. On Earth, we're only just beginning to scratch the surface of quantum mechanics. The practical applications you've developed are light years beyond us." Nova cocked her head, curiosity plain on her face. "Tell me more about Earth science. What advancements are you most proud of?" For the next few minutes, as we wound our way through the complex, I regaled her with tales of Earth's technological marvels. Nova listened with rapt attention, asking insightful questions that revealed a keen scientific mind. Finally, we arrived at a door that looked no different from the others we'd passed. Nova waved her hand over a barely visible panel, and the door slid open with a soft hiss. "These will be your quarters," she said, gesturing for me to enter. The room was alien, to say the least. What I assumed was a bed looked more like a nest of softly glowing tendrils. The walls pulsed with a gentle rhythm, as if the entire structure was breathing. A large window looked out over a vista of swirling mists and floating rock formations. "It's beautiful," I said, meaning it. Nova beamed. "I'm glad you appreciate it. Many off-worlders find our aesthetics unsettling." I turned to face her. suddenly acutely aware that we were alone. The weight of Lily's tradition hung heavy between us. "Nova," I began cautiously, "about this custom your mother mentioned." Her expression grew serious. "I know it must seem strange to you, but you have to understand, for us, it's a sacred rite, a way to truly know someone's heart." I ran a hand through my hair, frustration bubbling up. But how can forced intimacy reveal anything true? Where I come from, that kind of requirement would be seen as a gross violation of personal autonomy. Nova's brow furrowed. "Forced? No, Zane. The choice is always yours. But the consequences of that choice, those are set by generations of tradition." I paced the room, mind whirling. "So if I refuse, the negotiations are over before they begin. And if I agree, I potentially compromise everything I stand for as a diplomat. It's an impossible situation." Nova stepped closer, her voice soft. "Is it really so impossible? To open yourself to a new way of understanding, to forge connections that go beyond words and politics?" I met her gaze, struck again by the depth of intelligence in those alien eyes. For a moment I allowed myself to imagine what it might be like to truly embrace this world, this culture, to let go of my earthbound preconceptions and dive into the unknown. The moment shattered as an alarm blared through the complex. Nova's head snapped towards the door, her body tensing. "What's happening?" I asked, already dreading the answer. Nova's expression was grim. "That's the intruder alert. Someone's breached our outer defenses." As if on cue, Helios's voice boomed through hidden speakers. "Attention all warriors! The humans have betrayed us. Their ship approaches with weapons hot. To arms, my brothers and sisters. Today, we fight for our very existence." Nova looked at me, conflict clear in her eyes. "Zane, tell me this isn't true." I shook my head vehemently. "It can't be. There must be some mistake. Let me contact my ship. I can sort this out." But as I reached for my communicator, I realized with horror that it was gone. Somehow, in the confusion of my arrival, I'd been subtly disarmed. Nova's expression hardened. "I'm sorry, Zane, but until we know what's really going on, I can't let you leave this room." The door slid shut with a final sounding click, leaving me alone with my thoughts and the growing certainty that my mission, and perhaps the peace between our worlds, was about to go terribly, catastrophically wrong. I paced the room like a caged animal, my mind racing. The false alarm had been cleared up. A glitch in the defense systems, they said, but the damage was done. Trust, already fragile, had been fractured further. A chime at the door startled me from my thoughts. Nova entered, her expression a mix of relief and lingering suspicion. "The Council has agreed to continue negotiations," she said, her voice carefully neutral. "But they require proof of your commitment to our ways." I knew what was coming. My stomach churned, but I forced my voice to remain steady. "The tradition your mother spoke of." Nova nodded, not quite meeting my eyes. "Yes, you'll be expected to participate, starting tonight." I swallowed hard. The diplomat in me understood the necessity, but every other part of me rebelled against the idea. I'll do what I must for the sake of peace." Something flickered in Nova's eyes. Respect? Disappointment? I couldn't tell. "I'll be your guide through the process," she said softly. "It's not as straightforward as you might think." The next few hours were a blur of preparations. Nova explained the intricacies of the ritual, the specific phrases to be spoken, the symbolic gestures, the importance of maintaining eye contact throughout. It was far more complex and, frankly, less carnal than I had initially feared. As night fell, Nova led me to a chamber deep within the complex. The air was thick with incense, and bioluminescent fungi cast everything in an eerie, pulsing glow. "Remember," Nova whispered as we approached the first participant, This isn't about physical intimacy. It's about opening your mind, your very essence, to truly know and be known. I nodded, took a deep breath and stepped forward. The experiences that followed were indescribable. Each encounter was a journey through memories, emotions, and sensations that weren't my own. I saw the world through alien eyes, felt the pulse of Epsilon Prime in my veins, understood on a visceral level the connection these beings had to their world and each other. It was beautiful, terrifying, and utterly exhausting. As dawn broke, I stumbled back to my quarters, Nova supporting me. My mind felt raw, overexposed, like I'd stared into the sun for too long. "Rest," Nova said, her voice gentle. "We'll talk more when you've recovered." I collapsed onto the strange, nest-like bed and knew no more. Days blurred together. Mornings were filled with intense negotiations, afternoons with Nova showing me the wonders of Epsilon Prime, and nights were for the ritual. Nova proved to be an invaluable guide, not just through the complexities of xenomorph culture, but through the labyrinth of my own changing perceptions. Her quick wit and insatiable curiosity about Earth matched my own fascination with her world. One afternoon, as we stood atop a cliff overlooking a valley of swirling prismatic mists, I found myself opening up to her in a way I never had with anyone before. "Sometimes," I admitted, watching the play of light through the mists, "I wonder if I've lost myself in all of this. The person I was when I arrived, he feels like a stranger now." Nova's hand found mine, her touch cool and electric. "Change isn't loss, Zane. It's growth. You're becoming more than you were, not less." I turned to her, struck by the wisdom in her words and the depth of feeling in her eyes. For a moment, the universe narrowed to just the two of us, perched on the edge of something vast and unknown. The spell was broken by a harsh laugh behind us. We turned to see Helios, flanked by two of his warriors. "How touching," he sneered. "The alien and his pet, taking in the sights while the fate of our world hangs in the balance." I felt Nova tense beside me. "Helios," she said, her voice tight, "you overstep. The council is blind," Helios spat. "They can't see how this outsider manipulates us, how he corrupts our ways for his own gain." I stepped forward, keeping my voice calm. "Helios, I understand your concerns, but I assure you my intentions are—" "Spare me your honeyed words, Earthman," Helios cut me off. "I see through your act. You think that by bedding our women and parroting our customs, you can bend us to your will." Nova moved to stand between us. "That's enough, Helios. You speak of things you don't understand." Helios's eyes narrowed. "Oh, I understand plenty, little princess. I see how he's clouded your judgment, turned you against your own people." "You're wrong," Nova said, her voice shaking with barely contained anger. "Zane has shown nothing but respect for our ways. He's opened himself to us completely." Helios laughed, the sound harsh and mocking. "Opened himself? Please, he's a diplomat, trained to lie and manipulate. Everything he does is calculated for effect." His words hit too close to home. Doubt, always lurking at the edges of my mind, surged forward. Was he right? Had I lost perspective? Let myself be swayed by the beauty of this world and the growing feelings I couldn't deny? Nova must have sensed my inner turmoil. She squeezed my hand, her touch grounding me. "Zane is more than his role, Helios. I've seen his true self, just as he's seen ours. The connection is real." Helios's expression darkened. "Then you're an even bigger fool than I thought. When this all comes crashing down, remember that I warned you." He stalked away, his warriors in tow. Nova let out a shaky breath, then turned to me, her eyes searching my face. "You know he's wrong, don't you?" she asked softly. "About your intentions?" I wanted to reassure her, to banish the doubt from her eyes. But Helios's words had shaken me more than I cared to admit. I, I don't know anymore, Nova. This mission, these experiences, they've changed me in ways I'm still trying to understand. Nova's expression softened. That's not a bad thing, Zane. It means you're truly engaging with us, not just going through the motions. I shook my head, frustrated. But where's the line? When does cultural immersion become losing myself? How can I be an effective diplomat if I can't maintain some distance? Nova was quiet for a long moment, her gaze drifting back to the misty valley. Perhaps, she said finally, true diplomacy isn't about maintaining distance. Maybe it's about finding common ground even when it means risking a part of yourself in the process. Her words resonated deep within me, touching on fears and hopes I'd barely acknowledged. I found myself wanting to pull her close, to lose myself in the comfort of her presence. But the weight of my mission, the fate of two worlds, held me back. We should head back, I said, my voice rougher than I intended. The next round of negotiations starts soon. Nova nodded, a flicker of disappointment crossing her face. As we made our way down from the cliff, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was walking a razor's edge. One misstep, one moment of weakness, and everything could come crashing down. The negotiations that afternoon were tense. Helios's faction pushed for harsher terms, citing Earth's military presence as a threat. I countered with offers of technological exchange, cultural programs, anything to bridge the gap between our worlds. Through it all, I felt Lily's eyes on me, her gaze sharp and assessing. As the session wound down, she pulled me aside. "You've made progress, Envoy," she said, her tone neutral, "but I sense a growing complication." I steeled myself. "If you're referring to my relationship with Nova," Lily held up a hand, cutting me off. "I'm referring to the conflict I see within you. You're torn between your duty and your heart. Such division can be dangerous in delicate negotiations like these." I opened my mouth to protest, but Lily continued. "I don't doubt your sincerity, Zane, but you must understand the precarious position we're in. If these talks fail, if Earth decides to take what they want by force..." The unspoken threat hung heavy in the air. I nodded, my throat tight. "I understand. I won't let personal feelings interfere with the mission." Lily's expression softened slightly. "See that you don't, for all our sakes." As I watched her walk away, I felt the weight of two worlds pressing down on my shoulders. The line between diplomat and man, between duty and desire, had never felt so blurred, and with each passing day, the consequences of crossing that line loomed ever larger. The alarms blared through the complex, their piercing wail setting my teeth on edge. I sprinted down the crystalline corridors, heart pounding in my ears. Nova was missing, and all signs pointed to foul play. I burst into the council chamber where Lily stood surrounded by agitated xenomorphs. Her usual composure had cracked, revealing the worried mother beneath. "Zane," she said, her voice tight. "You've heard." I nodded, trying to catch my breath. "What do we know?" Lily's eyes flashed with barely contained fury. "Helios. He's taken her, left a message claiming Earth forces have breached our defenses and abducted her as a hostage." My blood ran cold. "That's impossible. I would have known—" "We know," Lily cut me off. "But Helios has used the confusion to rally his supporters. They're calling for immediate military action against Earth." The situation was unraveling faster than I could process. "We need to find Nova. Now. Before this escalates beyond our control." Lily fixed me with a piercing stare. "You care for her deeply, don't you?" I met her gaze, no longer willing to hide behind diplomatic evasions. "Yes, more than I thought possible." Something softened in Lily's expression. "Then let's get her back, and put an end to Helios's madness once and for all." We assembled a small team, myself, Lily, and two of her most trusted guards. As we prepared to leave, I noticed Lily retrieving a strange, pulsing orb from a hidden compartment. "What is that?" I asked. Lily's expression was grim. "A relic of our past, something I had hoped never to use again. But desperate times." She didn't elaborate further, and I didn't press. We had more urgent matters at hand. Using a combination of xenomorph tracking technology and my own intuition about Helios's psychology, we narrowed down Nova's likely location to a series of caves in the planet's southern hemisphere. The journey was treacherous, across shifting terrain that seemed to actively resist our passage. As we approached the cave entrance, I felt a familiar tingling at the base of my skull, the same sensation I'd experienced during the intimacy rituals. Lily noticed my reaction. "You feel it, don't you?" she asked. "The planet's energy. It's stronger here, more raw." I nodded, unable to find words for the strange mixture of exhilaration and dread coursing through me. We pressed on, deeper into the twisting caverns. The first sign of trouble came in the form of a tripwire, nearly invisible in the dim light. I spotted it just in time, grabbing Lily's arm to stop her. "Helios has been busy," I muttered, carefully disarming the crude but effective trap. Lily's expression darkened. "He's desecrating sacred ground with these toys." We encountered more traps as we progressed, each one forcing us to slow our pace. My frustration mounted with each delay, knowing that Nova was somewhere ahead, in danger. Finally, we emerged into a vast chamber, its walls covered in bioluminescent fungi that pulsed with an eerie rhythm. In the center stood Helios, Nova bound and gagged at his feet. "So," Helios sneered, "the alien and the traitor arrive at last." I took a step forward, but Helios raised a weapon, a twisted amalgamation of xenomorph biotechnology and what looked disturbingly like Earth weaponry. "Not another step," he warned, "or the princess here gets a taste of your people's peacekeeping technology." Lily's voice was ice. "You've gone too far, Helios. Release my daughter and face the consequences of your actions." Helios laughed, the sound echoing unnaturally in the cavern. "Consequences? I'm saving our people from extinction. This human and his kind will be the death of us all if we don't act now." I raised my hands, trying to project calm I didn't feel. "Helios, think about what you're doing. This won't save anyone. It'll start a war that'll destroy both our worlds." "Better to die fighting than live as slaves," Helios spat. I saw Nova's eyes widen in fear as Helios's finger tightened on the trigger. Time seemed to slow. In that moment, everything I'd learned about xenomorph culture, about the strange energy of this planet, crystallized into a single, desperate plan. I closed my eyes, reaching out with my mind the way I'd done during the intimacy rituals. I felt the pulse of the planet beneath my feet, the living energy that flowed through every xenomorph. And I pushed, with every fiber of my being, to make a connection. The cave erupted in chaos. The bioluminescent fungi flared blindingly bright, then plunged us into total darkness. I heard Helios cry out in shock and pain, the weapon clattering to the ground. I didn't hesitate. I lunged forward, guided by some sixth sense I couldn't explain. My hands found Nova, and I quickly worked to free her bonds. "Zane?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "How did you—" "Later," I said, pulling her close. "We need to end this now." As if on cue, the fungi slowly began to glow again, revealing a stunned Helios on his knees, Lily standing over him with the pulsing orb held high. "It's over, Helios," Lily said, her voice resonating with power. "The planet itself rejects your hatred." Helios looked around wildly, his composure shattered. "No, no, you can't let them win. Can't you see what they'll do to us?" I stepped forward, Nova at my side. Helios, look at me. Really look. You've been in my mind, felt my thoughts. Do you truly believe I want to harm your people? Helios met my gaze, and I saw the conflict raging behind his eyes. Slowly, painfully, the fight seemed to drain out of him. I, I don't know what to believe anymore, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Lily's expression softened slightly. Then it's time you learned. For too long, you've let fear guide your actions. That ends today. The journey back to the xenomorph capital was tense, but uneventful. Word of Helios's failed coup had spread quickly, and by the time we arrived, the council was waiting. The next few days were a whirlwind of negotiations, explanations, and reconciliations. I found myself drawing on everything I'd learned about xenomorph culture to bridge the gaps of mistrust that Helios had widened. Through it all, Nova was by my side, her presence a constant reminder of why this mission mattered so much. Finally, on the eve of the Earthship's arrival, we gathered for the signing of the peace treaty. As I looked out over the assembled xenomorphs, I felt a profound sense of hope and loss. My mission was complete, but at what cost to my heart? Nova must have sensed my turmoil. She squeezed my hand, drawing my attention to her luminous eyes. "You're not leaving," she said. It wasn't a question. I smiled, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. "No, I'm not. If you'll have me, I'd like to stay, as Earth's ambassador, and as something more." Nova's answering smile was brighter than any star I'd ever seen. The ceremony that followed was a blend of Earth and xenomorph traditions, a symbol of the new era we were embarking on together. As Nova and I exchanged vows, binding our lives and our worlds, I couldn't help but marvel at the strange, beautiful path that had led me here. As the twin moons of Epsilon Prime rose over the horizon, casting their ethereal light over the celebration, I knew that this was just the beginning. There would be challenges ahead, misunderstandings to navigate, and bridges yet to build. But looking at Nova, feeling the pulse of this alien world that had become my home, I was ready to face whatever the universe had in store. Together, we would forge a future beyond anything either of our peoples had dreamed possible. The stars beckoned, and for the first time in my life, I felt truly, completely at peace.